Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone listening out there is having a great day, and I appreciate you so much for listening to another review. Before we get started, make sure you smash that subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest content. Alright, so today's review is focused on the third and final chapter of the new Strangers trilogy that absolutely nobody asked for. I saw this film yesterday in the theaters, and I'm going to give it to you straight. It is utter dog shit. I had to suspend my year hiatus of uploading reviews to this channel to explain just how terrible of a movie this entry truly is. I wish I was kidding when I say that this movie is laughably that awful. If you thought Rennie Harlan ran out of fresh ideas while we had Maya being dragged through the forest by some random ass CGI boar, buddy, do I have some news for you. I'm not sure who sat around the drawing board while coordinating this trilogy as a whole, but holy hell do we have to reach deep within ourselves to remotely even justify the dumb choices the writers created for these characters. Now look, Chapter 1 had its own set of flaws in my opinion, and its biggest offense was that it played too close to the chest while offering nothing new from the original source material. With that being said, there was some kind of hope that the next two films could bring a different take to the series that we hadn't seen before. Well, here we are now with 3 full-length films between 2 pieces of bread to create the ultimate shit sandwich. The best part of this meal? The director doesn't seem to care how much you hate it because the whole project felt like he hated making it too. There's nothing creative or invoking or at the bare minimum even entertaining here. I mean, at some point we have to ask ourselves, what was even the point in remaking such a classic film into 3 separate movies if all that made the original so great was going to be tossed out the window? I don't know guys, call me cynical or a negative Nancy, but it's films like this that drive me to believe how out of touch these directors really are with their own fan bases. Now I want to be fair, as not everything in this dumpster fire deserves to be tossed straight into the bargain bin. Just like the other 2 films, the scenery and locations are really great. The hotel gives off vibes like it's been occupied by chain smokers daily since 1965. The forest that surrounds Venus provides some really awesome aerial shots. Several pretty big plot points are filmed in an abandoned sawmill that really tickles those creepy jellies in your chest. The local diner might as well have Big Billy Joe in the back pressing burger patties out of Highway Roadkill. We even get the small town cult-like church straight out of the Oh Hell No 101 handbook. Another honest point I can give credit to is the audio team. Between the sound effects and the soundtrack itself, I did find that they helped highlight certain scenes whenever the stupidly dull plot couldn't, which is fucking depressing. Things like water droplets hitting puddles, metal impacts, glass shattering, and bone crunching sounds during axe kills were really well done and sounded great in my theater's surround system. That's pretty much it on the positive notes. Buckle up and pop a Tylenol because everything is completely downhill from here. What made the original Strangers film so captivating was the mystery itself. You sit through the entire film clenching your ass cheeks together only to find out that 3 mass psychopaths tortured you and your husband simply because you weren't home. There's no backstory or stupid artsy-fartsy deep dive on what drove them to be murderers in the first place. That's where the horror thrives best. It provides us a basic concept that makes us realize even the most simple answers can be unsettling. That's very relatable to real life, you know? Sometimes bad shit happens to us, there's no deeper understanding to it. With this new trilogy, they took this very basic idea and decided to ruin it by spending the past 2 films giving us flashbacks to the killers as children. It's ironic in itself because the title of the franchise is literally called The Strangers, you know, as in people you don't know anything about at all. We were given several flashback scenes in this movie, each one just as irrationally dumb as the last one. In one of them, Sackhead as a child is in court for the murder of the schoolgirl in Chapter 2's flashback scene. His father that's defending him is the sheriff of the town. After explaining his horrendous crime, I shit you not, the judge looks at Sackhead's father and basically says, "Your track record is awesome, sheriff, so as long as your son doesn't murder anyone else and is supervised, we'll let him off. Don't get in trouble again, young man, or you'll go to jail." So just as you're sitting there trying to find any reason to make sense or justify this bullshit moment, we get hit with a double whammy. The next flashback shows child Sackhead and Dollface once again, a few weeks later, murdering a camper in the woods. Kid Dollface says something about Sackhead getting his first kill, and maybe, just maybe, I could have seen this as a half-ass origin moment. That is until once again they present us with more fucking dumb writing by having the sheriff show up and say crap like, "I knew you would do this again. I'll clean this up as long as you promise to kill Taurus from now on. I love you, my murderous little buddy." You cannot make this stuff up to be this bad if you sat around and tried. That's the problem with this entire movie. Every action or decision that's made has no logical thought process behind it. Every idea just screams, hey, we have zero ideas on what to do with these characters and how to get from point A to B. That's what's so insulting in the first place. They didn't have to do anything with all of the characters except what made them popular in the first place, being mysterious strangers. We're even treated to another flashback scene that shows teenage Sackhead and Dollface sitting outside of a corner store picking out random people to see who's their next victim. To keep it simple, they target this dickhead guy and his girlfriend and follow them back to a motel. When they enter the room to murder them, they find the girl has stabbed her boyfriend to death. She mumbles something about him promising not to cheat again. Sackhead and Dollface stare at her and then offer her some snacks to eat. That's it. That's the entire awkward scene that we're supposed to believe as some sort of initiation into their group. It doesn't make sense in any way possible. If we have to even explain these backstories at all in the first place, how did everyone sit around and say, yes, this is perfect? Surely anyone with more fucking imagination than a 2-year-old could have written better than this. Even looking past the flashback scenes, nothing in this movie once made me sit back and think to myself, wow, it's all coming together and I actually get it. There was never an aha moment that made all three of these films blend together and have some sort of meaning. Even after the film ends, I'm still sitting here trying to figure out what was the point in all of this. If you asked me to summarize all three films together in a paragraph that would explain the story being told and still sound somewhat interesting, it would be impossible. Look, I've seen some other reviewers and fans online saying this is the best entry of the trilogy, and I'm trying to figure out what special mushrooms you took before you watched this. The film's opening is completely irrelevant besides introducing a motel that doesn't even matter in the final scheme of shit. Let's put some perspective on this for a second. In the final entry of a trilogy, we waste an introduction for the purpose of showing a location instead of picking the tension straight back up from where the last film ended. This is hilarious, considering one of the only things I feel that Chapter 2 got right was the 20-minute opening scene that throws you straight back into the suspense. When we do finally get back to Maya, where Chapter 2 left off, she's hiding behind some trees while watching the two killers alive mourn the death of Dollface. When they drive away, she's out walking down the middle of the road before they even make a turn or before they're even out of view. If that can't get any more stupid, she makes it maybe half a mile down the road before the sheriff finds her. Even after showing every sign in the past two films that he's a villain, other than basically wearing a shirt that says, hey, I'm a fucking bad guy on it, she gets into the car for the most awkward, drawn-out conversation that I guess was supposed to put us on the edge of our seats. It's just really drawn out, and I've been more nervous of a wet fart than I was of their acting. She eventually smells the bad mojo and tricks him into getting out of the car, and she steals it. She's got a vehicle now, a full tank of gas, a radio, and possibly a gun. Maybe. I can't remember if there was one in the front seat or not. Now, bear with me here. Any sane person would put the pedal to the floorboard and get the hell out of there. But nope. She starts searching through some documents in the passenger seat and conveniently crashes the car straight into a tree within 10 seconds. That's the entirety of this film in a nutshell. Every single choice these characters make are only to push the plot forward, instead of basic common sense for survival. This isn't just isolated to one or two characters that need to be written off, but every single one of them. Maya is taken from the wreck and forced to ride around with Sackhead and the other stranger that nobody gives a shit about. They spend the next hour or so trying to convert her into being one of them, or I guess taking Dollface's place. They tattoo the stupid smiley face on her, make her watch them throw Dollface into a wood chipper, and they put the Dollface mask on her while heavy breathing like drunk people at a burrito bar. At some point, they end up back at the motel, making her knock on a door saying their signature catchphrase. They make their way into the room, subdue the husband, and they tie up the wife. For the next 10 minutes, we get a clusterfuck of random shit thrown at us. The camera clips back and forth between all the chaos, making the scene feel even more jarring than it is. We get the stranger standing on each side of Maya, peer pressuring her, because, holding conversations was what the strangers did so much of in the originals. Maya screams and refuses to kill the tied up wife. Sackhead finishes the husband off. Maya loses her shit and turns around and beats the other female stranger to death. Then she continued to watch Sackhead chop up the dead husband some more instead of fucking running out the door while he's distracted. When he finally stops, they make this weird sexual connection like two unstable, trauma-bonded weirdos. He grabs Maya's hands around the machete and helps her kill the wife tied up in the chair like some great value knockoff scene from the movie Ghost. Then they continue heavy breathing and giving each other those sexy eyes, and the whole time I'm thinking, what in the absolute fuck is any of this even supposed to be telling me? When did the slasher film I came to see turn into some fucked up torture erotica and not a final girl doing what it takes to escape? It's like these writers really want to tell a story that they couldn't get a budget approved for unless they slapped an existing franchise name on the title. Eventually, Maya's sister and brother-in-law reach Venus with their bodyguard / private detective or whatever the fuck he is, and they begin searching the town. They follow the sheriff to the hospital where they wait in the car. Inside, the sheriff gets into an argument with a deputy who wants to call in state police now that the strangers are killing people in the town. He says some stupid line like, "I could handle what goes on until it was one of our own." And then the sheriff drills him in the head. Somehow he then gets him into a body bag, drags it throughout the entire hospital, and into the parking lot to throw it in the back of his patrol car without anybody at all in the entire hospital seeing him. Even if we entertain the fact that the staff did see him, but like the rest of the town, they turn a blind eye to what happens, it's still just an unrealistically fucking dumb story that the writers are trying to shove down our throats. The sister, her husband, and the bodyguard then follow the sheriff to the sawmill in the dark-ass creepy woods after watching him load the body into the trunk instead of, calling in state police themselves or leaving for the police force in a town next over. Somehow the bodyguard convinces the sister and her husband to wait in an abandoned creepy trailer instead of the safety of the car they are in with multiple handguns and the gas to drive away. What happens next? He gets himself killed and Maya's forced to watch Sackhead butcher her sister. He doesn't try to stop him. She doesn't scream. She just sits there and watches. Sackhead then leaves her in the truck with a shotgun and the keys to leave. The sheer stupidity never ends after this. You think with even only a few brain cells, most people would get the hell out of there and never look back. After everything she has lost and everything this town has cost her, she would use this opportunity to escape and live another damn day. Maybe seek justice by getting prosecutors involved on a state or federal level after she returns home. Instead, she turns back around with some new sense of revenge and bloodlust that's lit a fire under her ass to go and end this problem once and for all. When she finally does find the sheriff, we'd assume there'd be some kind of passionate or heartbreaking dialogue between them, and yet we get the most anticlimactic scene of the entire trilogy. He sits in a chair with a beer listening to gospel and smiles at her. He doesn't fight or run or scream or anything. He just smiles, she shoots him, and that's it. A few moments later, she finds a room dedicated as a memorial to Dollface with candles and Sackhead fucking rocking back and forth in a Cracker Barrel porch chair. They come face to face in some kind of drawn out pseudo-sexual moment where they're rubbing all over each other and deep breathing heavy while music plays in the background. It's just fucking bizarre, like watching your parents reenact their favorite 50 Shades of Grey scene. I guess we're supposed to believe in the moment that she is just leading him on because she eventually stabs him in the gut. Yet, outside of the annoying flashbacks, they spent this entire movie copying Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and expecting us to accept that her mental state collapsed and she's now one of them. I don't know. As he lays there and dies, he says some dumb shit like, "You're just like me now." And she says maybe and then finishes him off. The movie ends with her holding his mask. Look, I know some people out there are going to love this film, and I'm not saying there aren't some things to enjoy. At the end of the day, people are going to always have different opinions, and that's why I think we all love discussing film so much. The problem here is that they took such a simple concept and wanted to extend that vision without any direction in mind. What we're left here with is just a steaming hot pile of shit spread across not just one, but 3 full-length films. As fans watching each release, you could see in real time everyone's hopes for this franchise get flushed down the drain with terrible writing choices. It really baffles my mind when I think about all 3 of these movies were written and filmed at the same time, so we can't use any type of consistency issues to justify this hot garbage. I'm going to give this film a solid 4, and 3 of those points are for the sound effects and the fact that the fucking spelling of the movie's name was correct in the title. If this franchise even gets another chance to flourish after this, dear God, they should try and look at what directors are even remotely competent in the horror industry right now and not just who's the cheapest. Thanks for tuning in, and if you have any recommendations, criticisms, or observations of the film that I may have missed, make sure you leave those comments down below. And as always, guys, please make sure you stay safe out there, and more importantly, stay munchin', stay crunchin', and I hope to see you next time. This is Swimming in Popcorn, signing off.